Spider-Man No Way Home. I just got done finishing Spider-Man No Way Home. Went to the movies last night, and I watched Spider-Man No Way Home after weeks of me hyping the movie up. Spider-Man No Way fucking Home is man, this movie is fucking amazing. This movie is amazing. I loved every second of it. I never got bored once. This is up there tied with my favorite Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man 2 and this are now tied for my favorite Spider-Man movies of all time. And it's fucking up there. It's ST for Marvel Cinematic movies in general. It's definitely one of the best Marvel Cinematic movies in general. This for me beats Endgame. This for me was more fun than Endgame. It was just as good as the Infinity War and even better than Endgame. That's how much I loved it. Fan service to the max, they done everything right. And the gripe that I had with Tom Holland is now fixed. The main gripe that I had with Tom Holland's Spider-Man is now fixed. And I'll get more into that, into the spoilers. But I just want to make a quick little review. This part is going to be no spoilers, and then you can skip to the middle, which is when I'm going to be talking about spoilers. But I wanted to give my opinion because I've been hyping the movie so much, and I just want to talk about it, how much I loved it. The action scenes, the references, the characters, everything is pulled up a notch. The atmosphere, the themes, the darkness is what I love. I love dark themes in movies, and Spider-Man, I never expected it to be this dark. This is probably the darkest Spider-Man ever. And how good it is, and how much it pulls things off. Your expectations, trust me, your expectations are going to be superseded. Your expectations will be superseded. Even if you're not a normal Spider-Man fan, you will love this movie. Even if you just know Spider-Man just in general, and you're not a big MCU fan, you can't miss this movie. If you love Spider-Man but you're not really into the MCU, and you're not really into Tom Holland's Spider-Man, trust me, do yourself a favor, watch this movie. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it because it fixes everything that I hated about Tom Holland's Spider-Man and the universe that this created. Fuck me, what an amazing movie. What a great time. Definitely recommend you watch it in the theater because the crowd was going crazy. The crowd was going crazy. And that was, for me, that added on to the experience, This was more like an experience. This was more like a show. It's like something you have to experience once in your lifetime. I don't think we'll ever experience a movie like this again unless they, get into the spoilers later. But trust me, man, this is coming straight out of my head. I love this movie. The only gripe I had about it maybe would be I'm trying to think of a gripe. I'm trying to think of something about it, but maybe certain characters could have been longer. Maybe, I don't know. There was just maybe the tones. There's a lot of tonal shifts that could be fixed up. Sometimes they want to go for a dark tone, but then they end up making jokes. And some of the jokes were not that funny, but a lot of the jokes were alright. But some of the jokes were not that funny. But that's like every MCU movie. Every MCU movie doesn't have jokes, has jokes that are pretty shit, and this one's no exception. But that's like me nitpicking of how much I love this movie. I definitely want to see it again, definitely. And definitely, Spider-Man No Way Home is ST movie, best movie of 2021, movie of the year, and what a time! Great movie, especially after the disappointment that was Venom 2. This one did amazing, did really well. Loved it. I loved it. And it was a great experience, especially if you can go out and watching the movies, watch it with your mates. Loved it, man, loved it. The characters were done justice. Every character in this movie is done justice. And the ending, the ending to this movie is so underrated. How much I love it. Not everyone's talking about it, but eventually they will talk about it. And I'm very excited to see where this Spider-Man goes next. I have never said that before about Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but this time I'm really excited to see where this character goes next because there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential. And there's hard-hitting scenes, there's emotion, there's gravity, there's actually consequences now. MC never has consequences, and for the first time there's consequences besides Infinity War. And even that was scrapped by Endgame. But fuck me, man, I love this movie. I'm going to stop rambling. Out of 10, this movie would definitely be a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. It's not the perfect movie. No movie is perfect, but except for The Dark Knight. It's no Dark Knight, but it's definitely as close as we'll ever get. That's how much I loved it. I got that same feeling, man. That same feeling. Anyway, 9 out of 10. Loved it. Recommend it. Most of you guys probably watched it, but this is just my opinion. And without further ado, we're going to get to the spoilers. Now, spoilers. Spoilers for Spider-Man No Way Home, bro. The first thing I want to talk about is Tobey and Andrew in the movie. Is Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in the movie? All the leaks were right. All the leaks were right. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in the movie, and fuck, they were the best parts about the movie. They were the best part of the movie. When they first came in, the crowd went fucking crazy. The crowd went crazy, and so did I, bro. I never cheat in a movie, but this is the one time where I actually was like, fuck, they're in the movie. They're in the movie. Are you fucking kidding me? All the leaks were true. The hopes, the dreams. I never for a million years thought I'd ever see Tobey Maguire again as Spider-Man. I always felt like I wanted more out of Tobey Maguire because they were going to make a Spider-Man 4, but they didn't. But the fact that he's back, the fact that he's in the movie interacting with Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland in the MCU, I love their dynamic. You know what? Their chemistry was on point. You know, like, you'd expect, you know, the first time being on screen that their chemistry would, you know, take some time, but their chemistry, they straight away clicked. They were straight away on point, and they were the best part of the movie, man. Andrew Garfield really stole the show. Andrew Garfield is really good. I really enjoyed seeing Andrew Garfield, and I still think that Andrew Garfield deserves Amazing Spider-Man 3. He really deserves his last closure movie, and Tobey Maguire, I want Spider-Man 4 for the sake of Tobey Maguire. I want to see more Tobey Maguire. Man, the way they worked together was like so fresh, so new. It was like watching the Spider-Verse, but even better. Oh man, and let's talk about Green Goblin. What a fucking G. Green Goblin literally pushes Tom Holland's Spider-Man to limits. Tom Holland literally was going to kill. He was actually going to kill Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Peter Parker was going to kill, which I've never seen before. He was going to kill Green Goblin. He had this glider, just like foreshadowing, just like throwing back to Spider-Man 1 where he got killed by his own glider. This time Spider-Man was about to kill him with a glider, and that part with Tobey Maguire, you know, because he's mature, he's a veteran, he's been through that anger, and he stops him. You know, just have that moment. Fuck. And when Tobey Maguire got stabbed by a Green Goblin, I thought he was dead, but thank God he's not dead. Thank God, because if he died, I would have raged. I think the whole theater would have raged. Doctor Strange was great in the movie as well, but the plot with I forgot to talk about that in the actual review. The plot, how what kickstarts this whole Spider-Verse thing and multiverse shit. Maybe could have done a bit better. You know, it was just about him trying to go to college, which is a bit lame, but still, because MIT rejected his college application, him and his friends, because he's Spider-Man. That's the only reason only thing I didn't like about the movie. Just because that he got rejected because he's going to MIT, and they didn't want him to go to MIT because him and his friends, because they know Spider-Man, and so he goes to Doctor Strange and fucks up the whole multiverse because of that. But like I'm saying, this is just a nitpick. This is me nitpicking. The fight scenes, the action scenes are great. What else? What other spoilers are there? Let me think. What other fucking spoilers are there? So, oh yeah, how can I forget? Aunt May, she dies. She gets killed by the Green Goblin, and that's when I was like, fuck, this movie is dark. When they actually killed off Aunt May, and her death scene was brutal. Like, Green Goblin is such a fucking savage. He literally put his glider straight into Aunt May, and she full dies. That was so savage, and I loved it, how dark it was. I've never seen like an MCU death that dark before. I don't think I've seen an MCU death that dark before. Like, he full literally killed him. He killed her, sorry, not him. And that just pushes that's when Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield come, and they have to bring him back, you know, because they need his help. Also, everyone knows about Spider-Man, we all know that. And Aunt May actually says the famous, with great power comes great responsibility. I really thought Tobey Maguire was going to be the one who's going to teach him that, but it was Aunt May. And the fact that when he starts it off, and Tobey Maguire finishes it and tells him that he learned that from Uncle Ben, man, I'm going all over the place, but fuck, man, that was great. I'm trying to think, because I'm going to miss like a lot of plot points that I'm going to forget. Electro was great. Sandman was great. I loved that they brought back all the original actors for the villains. No one was left off. Every Spider-Man villain was in this movie, except for Tom Holland's villains, but that's a different story. Doc Ock was amazing. They all played their parts just like it was 20 years ago, man. Just like it was 10, 15 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. They all played their parts extremely well. And I think they can keep doing it, man. They can keep doing it. Now, the ending of this movie is one thing I want to talk about. Oh yeah, and one more thing about Andrew Garfield, sorry. Andrew Garfield, the part where he redeems himself by saving MJ, we all saw was going to happen. But and then he starts crying. That shit was emotional. That's what I'm saying. The emotional scenes in this movie were amazing, man. Like fucking hell, man. I love this movie so much. I actually love it so much. I've never been so excited about this movie before in a long time. And oh man. Anyway, enough about that. To fix the multiverse at the ending, as we all know, Tom Holland had to what's the word? Doctor Strange said he can't close the people coming in. Everyone that knows Spider-Man, that is Peter Parker, was going to come in and try to kill him. So in order to close the multiverse, they needed to go back to the original spell that Peter fucked up, where everyone forgets that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And everyone forgets that. No matter who knew him, they all forget it. So that means MJ, Ned, Aunt May, or she's dead, or Harry, Happy, everyone in the world forgets that he's Spider-Man. And he does a noble thing, and he sacrifices, he sacrifices his own happiness, because as Green Goblin says, you can't live two lives at once, Peter. And that's what he's been trying to do. And he can't do it. Just like Spider-Man 2 did it. But this one's like way more gratifying. Way more, in a bigger scale. And yeah, so he had to revert the spell back to the original. And that means everyone who ever knew Peter Parker Spider-Man forgets him. All the Avengers, MJ, the woman he loves, Ned, his best friend, forgets him. And he says his goodbyes. He hugs the other Spider-Man. They revert the spell back. And everyone goes back to their homes. All the original Spider-Man go back to their homes, and the spell is casted, and everyone forgets that Peter Parker's Spider-Man. Everyone in the world. J. Jonah Jameson goes back to speaking to him like he doesn't know him. Nobody knows who Spider-Man is. And I was getting this feeling. I was like, oh man, they actually did it. They actually did it. Like, they actually gave a lasting consequence in the MCU. Finally, there was a lasting consequence. It wasn't just neatly topped off. So yeah, he does the spell. He goes, and then suddenly everyone forgets that he's Spider-Man. He goes to visit MJ in her work, and he talks to her. There's a sweet moment. It went on a bit too long, but it was a sweet moment where he says the quote that she says about expecting disappointment. And then there was a little connection there in the beginning. He was going to tell her who he was, because she told him to find me, to go to, and tell everything. So he goes to MJ, and he's about to prepare this big ass speech, but then he realizes that he can't, because they're going to go to MIT, and he doesn't want to start this whole drama again. And it was a great moment. It was a great Spider-Man moment. It was a Spider-Man moment where he wasn't selfish, He sacrificed his happiness for the greater good, because with great power comes great responsibility, and he doesn't want to inflict that on his friends. He wants his friends to go live a normal life. And it's sad. I'm still a bit confused about what the spell means exactly. I thought Ned would still remember him as a friend, but I guess everyone just forgets him or something. I'm not sure. So I think everyone just forgets, because when he goes to Aunt May's grave, Happy's like, how'd you know her? So it was weird. I don't know if Aunt May was still alive, she'd know who Peter is. Seems like nobody knows who even Peter Parker is. Anyway, the end of the movie is amazing because it's beautiful. Because it's everything I wanted Tom Holland's Spider-Man to be. He sacrifices his happiness. He starts going through some hardships. He shows the GED book. That means he's not going to college anymore because no one knows who he is. He's going to start studying for the GEDs and stuff, then to go to college. And he rents an apartment, just like the original Spider-Man. He rents a shitty apartment. He goes back to the original, just going on his phone and using the police scanner. And he made his own suit that looks amazing. I saw the suit. That suit is one of the best looking Spider-Man suits I've ever seen. And he goes into the apartment, and it just feels like Spider-Man. It feels like the original. It feels like the game as well. It just feels like Spider-Man. Because the biggest problem I had with Tom Holland's Spider-Man is that he relied too much on MCU. He relied too much on Tony Stark. He was in the Avengers. He was like, he had all these high-tech suits. He barely had any troubles, you know. His Aunt May was hard. Whatever. Even that doesn't make sense. But he was fairly popular, you know. People liked him. He was very well liked. He had struggles, obviously, but he was, I don't know how to explain it. There was just something about him. He had just too much help. He was very stuck with the MCU, with Avengers. He was like a sidekick to the Avengers. Straight away got a suit from Tony Stark, a high-tech suit. And, you know, everything was handed to him. That's what I'm trying to say. Everything was handed to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. That's the one thing I didn't like. He relied too much on other people. He relied too much on Tony Stark. And the fact that now nobody knows who he is, he's by himself, he's going to start struggling a lot more, but it doesn't matter because that's who he wants to be. That's who Spider-Man is. He's now actually going to, you know, struggle, but that's fine. It's just who Spider-Man is. He struggled. That's why people relate to him. No one can relate to a student who literally works with a billionaire and goes to space. No one relates to that. Yeah, it's fun, entertaining, but no one's going to relate to that. The fact that now he's just some random guy who's Spider-Man, who has these powers, incredible powers, and now he's stuck in his, like, he has to find his way back. That's basically all it is. He has to start from the bottom and find his way back now. And he's doing his own thing. He's literally embraced the crime-fighting lifestyle that is Spider-Man. What he's going to do is go to college and become Spider-Man and save the whatever. Be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is what I'm trying to say. That's what he's going to be. I don't know. It just felt like the OGs. And this is the first time I ever said that I'm really excited to see what's next for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I'm really excited what it's going to bring. And how the fuck did I forget this? One more thing. Daredevil was in this movie. The Netflix Daredevil was in this movie. And I know that he's just going to interact with Spider-Man again. I know it. In the next Spider-Man movie, I really hope Daredevil and Spider-Man interact with each other. I know that Kingpin is going to be in Hawkeye. I haven't seen Hawkeye, but I'll definitely watch it after I heard Kingpin's going to be in it. Yeah, my God, that's all I got to say. Far out. That's it. That's everything I got to talk about. I love this movie. Definitely 9 out of 10. Near perfect. I'm so excited to see what's next for Tom Holland. I'm sorry if this movie dragged on. I don't know if anyone's even going to stay this long to watch my review, but yeah. Without further ado, if you enjoyed this video, you enjoyed me talking my bullshit about this video, make sure you like, subscribe, all this good stuff. Thank you for 300 subscribers. Thank you for supporting my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.